every one of us who is grieved knows the hard work of that. Grief is difficult. It is physically exhausting, mentally, emotionally, spiritually taxing for a person who's grieving. But those who accompany others who are grieving have a toll borne on their own soul as well. It's hard work to walk alongside someone who is grieving, to hear, to feel with them, to absorb some of their sorrow. Those are all things we do or should do as we accompany people on the road of grief. Now, some of us in ministry roles can find so many areas of our life where we're caring for grieving people. On one day, we're dealing with a family who's grieving the loss of a loved one in death. The next day, we're meeting with a couple where there's a breach in the relationship, a marriage that's threatened. Later that afternoon, we're talking to someone who is questioning their own faith and not sure where they stand with God. And in each case, we who come alongside and shepherd and care, well, the deeper we care, the more we absorb some of that hurt. And most of us, I think, who care for people in those settings can find ourselves at the end of a day or a week or a month so tired, not just physically, but we've given and we've listened with compassion, and we've cared and we've walked with, and it's draining. And I've had to learn that as a leader. Sometimes I don't even notice how much of people's grief I'm absorbing into my own soul. And I'll, maybe in a time of physical weariness, I'll just be sad, or I'll just say, man, I'm down, or I'm discouraged today. And I might feel discouraged, but really what it is grief. As I carry that sorrow, I remember learning some of these things in years gone by. There was a year in my family's life, in my life, where in 1 month there was a loss in death of our immediate family. That was followed quickly by a difficult season in the church that lasted for several months. And then that fall, my dad died. And that was unexpected. And I found myself sitting on the living room floor, the home in which I was raised, with my dad had died. And my mom's grieving in the kitchen, and I'm waiting, sitting next to my dad for one last time on the floor where my goodness sakes, I remember riding on his back as a child. Well, within a few months, I was just feeling weary, worn, and I found myself having lunch with a couple of seasoned pastors. And I remember that older pastor, as he did his conversational tour of the group, and saying, and how are you? And how are you? And I said, I don't know. I don't know how I am. I'm just feeling so tired and discouraged. And he said, well, what's going on in your life? We hadn't talked in a while. And I told him some of that. And he gave me this wise observation that I have not forgotten. He said, Jay, you're sad. You're sad. So be sad and carry that sadness with the Lord. And don't think of something as physically wrong. Oh, you might need to work it through in a whole variety of ways. But I remember him just calling out the emotion that he saw in me and giving me permission to be sad. And that seems rather odd to say, but it was profound for me as a pastor, for someone to give me permission, so to speak, to name an emotion and to feel it deeply. And I needed that, because my tendency is to square my shoulders and take a deep breath and another drink of water and keep going. And so for him to give me permission to take a moment and rest my weary soul with the Lord and grieve, man, that was so pivotal to me. I think every leader needs to recognize their own need to experience emotion, to know grief, and to know how to process sadness in their own soul. So this is a journey of a leader. Yes, we're called to help others, but in order to help others, we need to learn to walk the path of grief and sorrow ourselves with the Lord and with people near to us.